4 years, I've met people where their parents were kidnapped into the foster care system and they grew up in places like Australia, Japan. And so what did we learn from history on our people? What did we learn from the last 170 years of encroachment, Western encroachment throughout Nevada? What did we learn from the desecration of sacred sites, contamination of our water, the militarization? What did we learn from those things? Lateral violence, bullying. What did we learn from the Western encroachment into our councils, Western thinking, indoctrination, colonization? What do we learn from this language we're speaking, this forked tongue language we're speaking? And I ask you this, we can no longer step back and say, I did not know these things are happening. I did not know sexual abuse in my community was happening. Indigenous women. I did not know that these things were happening because a lot of this happened to myself, happened to you. The beginning of this camp is very special because one of the things that it's going to prevent is man camps coming in from these corporations. And these man camps are the machine workers, the men that come through here. One of the things during Standing Rock is those man camps were responsible for the missing, murdered Indigenous women. So I'm going to continue to ask you and challenge you is to find your healing. Find it in a good way. Check your ego. Because if you want to be a leader here, that's one thing Western culture will look for. And the one thing out of the thousands of people that came to camp was there was no leaders. We did things on consensus altogether. And so with that, it makes it easier to understand why are we here? What does it mean to And we need that. We need that. What does it mean to protect the sacred? What does it mean to become in service to your community and your people without having to want something back like a brother shared? You just do it because it needs to be done. We protect our most vulnerable, our children, our animals, and those that can protect themselves in the natural law. And so ask yourselves this. What does it mean to protect the sacred when you go home? Because this has got to be a lifestyle and a way of life. It just isn't a weekend thing. Although we live in the white man's world where time is necessary, out here it's different. And so those who come out and can stay here, encourage them that you can support them from afar. Let them know what you need and only take what you need and be self-reliant the best you can. And if you have any questions, you know, we're here to help as much as we can on what did we learn. What do we learn from the thousands and thousands that came out? and supported in solidarity, when that consistent prayer was so consistent and vibrant and powerful, you can feel it in the air, you can feel it in the songs that were coming, the medicines that were coming in all four directions, the song carriers that were coming in all four directions, the people who carried medicine that came in all four directions, healers that came from all four directions, people who brought medicines from all four directions, runners that came in from all four directions, horse riders that came in from all four directions. When you know what you're protecting, when you're protecting the sacred, then you know if you're infiltrated. Because when you know waters, you need clean water, clean air, and good land, good medicines, it's easier to know what you're protecting. And so when you get arrested in this Western law, in this Western court, by a Western hand, and judged by a fair shake. So allies that are listening, we need you to stand forward as arrestables, to hold accountable your people, hold yourself accountable, so we can continue to protect the sacred. Our people have suffered enough. Now, we're not victims, but we can sure tell you how we've been victimized from colonization and indoctrination, Western encroachment, and all the different things that came our way, nutritional genocide. And so I'm just sharing some things with you and things for you to think about in the historical trauma that we experienced as we're trying to heal together. And you guys are a part of that healing and that circle and that prayer. Allies, we need you to come with the strategies, because we understand that Western courts and law and corporations are going to twist the words. They're going to twist the words in their favor to fit their role. The example is gradual encroachment and stealing the land legally. These words that they're going to use, we know the natural law, and that's what we need to protect and honor, is the natural law. So what did we learn from just today? I want to just share with you, is they're going to grab you and they're going to try to discredit you. Those of you who know me know for over 20 years I've been working with youth, at-risk youth, teen suicide, sexual abuse, historical trauma, the violence against women. I'm the only one at 837. I'm also a professor. I was charged with stalking mercenaries. Now, it doesn't matter who I was stalking, but to have that on your record, out of the 837, I was the only one charged with stalking. Out of the 837, it was our only indigenous people that went to prison, that went to jail, that got a probation. Something's wrong with that. 837 were arrested, and we're the only ones that got charged. They don't honor with the mines around here, and in the areas mining in our sacred lands and our sacred medicines, contaminating our water. So I ask you again, and I'm going to continue to ask you, what did you learn from what I've shared with you? That many of us are still standing to protect the sacred, and we're going to continue to, but we need our allies to stand up, arrestables to stand up and hold arms, because I see it happen. And not as white savior, but as white ally. Two big different things. You're not as white savior, but white ally. That's what allies do for each other. One tribe also goes to another tribe and helps in solidarity. What does it mean to stand in solidarity? And so those things, we come in as Numaga, as all the people. And just want to share with you guys a few of these words that I just experienced. And there's quite a bit more, you know, when I think about our youth, and we take care of our youth, we watch our youth, and we teach our youth. Think about the land we're on, the land acknowledgement. Allies, when you speak about indigenous people, you remember that you're on indigenous land. You learn land acknowledgement. You learn how to say, this is the land I'm on. This is the traditional land of the Paiute people. This is how they say it. I'm going to say it in the best of my ability, how they say this land. You learn the history. Allies, you hold yourself accountable to know that land acknowledgement. And when Vice News or HBO or someone comes and interviews you, it doesn't look like just from Western eyes, because it's Western life. You're on indigenous land, and what you did is just a silence of violence and invisibility of our truth. So I'm here to hold you accountable and to say, you have my permission to share about my tribe if you need to, because I'm sharing that with you. Now, our relatives here need to take that role and do the same with our allies. And do it with a kind heart. And think about the land we're on, the the land acknowledgement. Allies, when you speak about indigenous people, you remember that you're on indigenous land. You learn land acknowledgement. You learn how to say, this is the land I'm on. This is the traditional land of the Paiute people. This is how they say it. I'm going to say it in the best of my ability, how they say this land. You learn the history. Allies, you hold yourself accountable to know that land acknowledgement. And when Vice News or HBO or someone comes and interviews you, it doesn't look like just from Western eyes, because it's Western lies. You're on indigenous land, and what you did is just a silence of violence and invisibility of our truth. So I'm here to hold you accountable and to say, you have my permission to share about my tribe if you need to, because I'm sharing that with you. Now, our relatives here need to take that role and do the same with our allies. And do it with a kind heart and don't know. They didn't grow up with us. For them, the American dream is something different. For us, it's the American Holocaust. We have a different story. So we have to really check our trauma so we don't create drama with it. And these are just, again, a few of the things that I've seen with our women stepping forward. We have to remember of the patriarchy that's coming through. That's the men that we're seeing coming through. It's patriarchy in these corporations. It's men. So we need to know our protocols as well. And so I just want to say that in the Pijan, Numashanami, Pija Yadawa, good words, good spirit. Thank you. Pijayu. Oh. Move.
Anybody else like to share?